underground. Tropical storm warnings issued for parts of the Louisiana and Texas coastline tonight as the Gulf Coast braces for the impacts of Tropical Storm Cindy. We are going to give you the timing for tropical storm force winds and heavy rain as we track this system closer and closer to landfall. Plus, the storm's deadliest danger will spread hundreds of miles inland. See who's at risk for significant flooding and where it will last for days. And as Cindy approaches, the tornado threat is increasing right now. We'll give you the very latest timing, city by city, hour by hour, now on Weather Underground. Good evening to you. Welcome into Weather Underground. I'm Alex Wilson. Mike Bettis has the evening off, and we want to welcome in our viewers that are watching us on Local Now. We're with you for an extra hour tonight. We've got a team in place to take you through the remainder of the evening as we talk all things tropics. And we here at the Weather Channel have expert analysis and timing you can only get here and information you need to know as Tropical Storm Cindy spins towards the Gulf Coast. Let's give you the very latest on this storm, a tropical storm with winds at 45 miles an hour. New advisory coming in, and as Dr. Knapp expected, we have not seen much of a change. We haven't seen a change in intensity and still stationary. Pressure at 997 millibars right now. You are also looking live at New Orleans, Louisiana. We're going to give you a look at a live report with Chris Warren in just a moment. Destin, Florida as well, one of the areas that we'll see some of the heavier rainfall impacts. Tropical storm warnings posted from East Texas throughout coastal Louisiana. And speaking of hurricane expert Dr. Rick Knapp, former director of the National Hurricane Center, with us now. You didn't expect much of a change, have not seen much of a change. Tropical, or rather the hurricane hunters, they're out there right now. Looks like they're over the center of the storm, but you think a lot of their attention is going to be focused to the east.
Yeah, they're tropical storm hunters tonight, right?
Yeah,
we know we're not going to be dealing with a hurricane here, and it's probably a pretty bumpy ride when they hit those thunderstorm towers intermittently. Now, I did look at the data that they were collecting right after they descended, and based on the flight level winds and their stepped frequency microwave radiometer, the SFMR instrument that's looking at the ocean surface, I didn't see any winds that were any stronger than what was in the 5 p.m. advisory. So not much of a surprise that the National Hurricane Center at the 7 p.m. Central Time update kept the maximum sustained winds at 45 miles an hour. Pressure's down a little bit, but that's not a real big change. But we sure would like to start seeing some motion on this thing, because the longer it sits out there, the longer the rainfall totals can ramp up. Even if the rain is intermittent, it's going to come and go more frequently over the same locations if this sits in the same spot. It will eventually start moving, but my goodness, this is going to be a slow moving system, large sprawling system, so it's a multi-day event.
It's really a sloppy mess, this one, and it can be a little deceiving, I think, for folks. A lot of people take the cone as gospel. I'm sure you you open it up on your phone app. It's so easy to look at it and go, okay, I'm inside it or I'm outside of it, and make your decision on whether or not you need to be concerned from there. But where we see the tropical storm warnings, where we see that cone doesn't necessarily reflect where the worst of the weather will be.
No, for both wind and water hazards, the risk is present both inside and outside the cone. Look how far east the tropical storm warnings extend. That's because the weather is so far removed from the center of circulation. And again, the center is out here in the middle of the Gulf, and its path is going to be northwestward and then north. But a lot of the weather, a lot of the wind, a lot of the rain is going to fall north and east of the circulation center. And even after this comes ashore, look down here in Mexico, it's still raining down there. It's going to take a while for this thing to move in and out. But the hurricane hunters are going to go see what the winds and the pressure are near the center, but they're going to spend a lot of time north and east of the center for several more hours. But regardless of what they find tonight, we already know it's going to rain a lot, and there's a potentially deadly flooding situation evolving for somebody in this area, and that's why people need to be paying attention to flash flood watches and local flash flood warnings and stay off water-covered roads.
And one of the areas with the threat for heavy rainfall, New Orleans, Louisiana, that's where we find our own meteorologist Chris Warren this evening. Chris, you look at a city like New Orleans, you mentioned that setup almost like it's sitting in a bowl. That water collects very quickly. I would imagine there's a high concern for flooding issues there in the city.
Absolutely, and it is flooding from the rain that's coming down, not so much or at all, at least at this point, for the Mississippi River to flood and come over the barrier here. So it is going to be the rain that we're going to be continuing to watch for the threat of flooding. Been watching this pole right here too. You take a look at it, this tells us a few things. First off, see this light area right here? That shows you where the rain has not hit. The rest of it is soaked. In fact, got some water streaming down it right now. So that tells you the prevailing wind direction coming in basically an easterly direction coming over the Mississippi River. And if you see these frigates, these birds, spoke with an environmental reporter earlier who's a longtime resident as well, and says usually you don't see these birds right here. So the storm likely forcing them in. They're usually out over the Gulf. If you're a mariner, if you're if you go fishing quite a bit, you spend some time on the water, you'd recognize these frigates. And notice they're not flashing or flapping very hard at all. The winds are stronger going up. In fact, it's all hard to see, even with the naked eye, it's hard to pick out. But I can see different shades of gray in the clouds with some white, and those clouds are really racing along too. And we can also talk about some of the video we've seen here coming into the Weather Channel. We've been looking at, and some we've seen with our own eyes too. People out here, you have tourists out here, they're not letting this rain stop them. Seen a lot of ponchos, seen a lot of umbrellas. Unfortunately, some of the umbrellas have been turned inside out. That's an inconvenience. The life-threatening and the dangerous side of things comes when we're talking about flooding. And so much rain piling up in New Orleans needs to be pumped out. And if you take a look at where we are right here, I'm essentially at the apex. Rain coming down, landing right here, will flow that way to the Mississippi. Anything that lands here over is going to go down. It is going to go down into New Orleans. And that just tells you, it's a reminder that the water needs to be pumped out because it flows down here. Usually water flows into streams and into rivers, but not the case here with so much of New Orleans, Alex, actually below sea level, which is below the flow of the Mississippi River as well. So let's go back to Alex in Atlanta at the Weather Channel headquarters. Alex?
Great insight. You know, a lot of folks, wonder why it can flood so easily, and it is because of that very unique setup there for the city of New Orleans. And Chris, one of our members of the team who was out there to give you the very latest on what's happening on the ground, Paul Goodlow in Houston. Of course, Chris, along with Jim Cantori, will be providing reports from New Orleans. Stephanie Abrams and Reynolds Wolf are in Mobile, Alabama. Justin Michaels in Atlanta, Georgia, where we've actually had flooding problems there today. A slug of tropical moisture offering up that threat and danger for flooding for areas along the coastline and inland as we head through the end of the week. Here are your flash flood watches posted from New Orleans over to Tallahassee, parts of Georgia, including the Atlanta metro area included. Here's your Houston 5-day forecast. Paul Goodlow looking at 3 to 5 inches, most of that coming Wednesday into Thursday. This another city with an exceptional risk for flooding. So we'll watch with a very close eye the city of Houston as well. Lake Charles, Wednesday into Thursday. There's your 3 to 5 inch rainfall chance. We've got much more on Weather Underground, including the threat of severe weather and tornadoes. Dr. Erica Navarro will talk more on that next.
This is me when I feel controlled by frequent, unpredictable abdominal pain or discomfort and diarrhea. I've tried life
one out, guys.
Be one of the thousands of weather geeks out there at weloveweather.tv.
Well, we are in for a long night for millions of people along the Gulf Coast now that we have a tropical storm barreling towards land. And when I say barreling, I mean moving very, very slowly. You know, it looks ominous, but this system is stationary at this point, so it's not moving quickly. Hey, New Orleans, you have been dealing with the heavy rainfall. In addition to the rain threat, we've got a torcon of 4 for tomorrow because of severe thunderstorms and the possibility of isolated tornadoes. This is actually through tonight and into tomorrow morning. So there will be a danger as we go through the next 12 to 18 hours for the danger of waterspouts and also tornadoes as well as inland flooding. Here's your active radar picture. Last check with Chris, we could see the rainfall was picking up, and in New Orleans we've seen light to moderate rainfall on the increase with some heavier pockets now headed towards the city. Heavy rainfall moving into sections of Biloxi, southern parts of Alabama, and here along the Florida Panhandle. It has been a rough day at the beach. We've seen some especially heavy swaths to the west of Apalachicola. Here in the Atlanta metro area earlier this afternoon, some torrential downpours, especially focused on the northeast side of town, has left a flash flood warning in play. We had plenty of flooding problems. DeKalb and Gwinnett counties still under the flash flood warning. This would include the city of Lawrenceville, so we're talking about some of those metro areas just outside of town. It's been a tough night for those folks to get home. We anticipate tough conditions on the roads. I-10 going to be a nightmare as we go into the morning hours tomorrow. Florida Panhandle getting drenched tomorrow through lunchtime. Same for southern parts of Mississippi, and we could see the threat for some of these storms to be a little bit more separated from the line, as we would call them discrete storms. And Dr. Navarro here with us to talk about the tornado threat. There will be that danger, and when you look at these discrete or storms that are alone, that gives us the idea that we could be looking at a serious danger.
Yeah, and another serious danger,
Right.
really, as this storm approaches the coast. So let's break it down a little
Let's
bit.
do it, yeah.
Right, so here's what you would see if you were looking from the satellite. So again, sitting on top of the satellite looking down, here's our tropical system in the ocean making its way towards the coastline. So the storm is moving in this direction from the ocean to the land. And so now the winds here spin counterclockwise, the opposite direction of the way the hands move on the clock. And it's a excuse me, this side of the storm, the right side of the motion that we see our greatest threat. And so that's because we have the onshore winds moving, the winds moving from the ocean onto the land. That creates a lot of shear because there's an increase of friction when those winds meet the ocean.
So we talk about those winds, but then there's also going to be some upper level winds.
Yeah.
Northeast quadrant of the storm, usually where we watch. We've got the cross section because we want to talk a little bit more about, you know, those winds you mentioned, but then when you get over land, we have some upper level winds that will add to that shear.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of different wind speeds and direction here that creates this threat. So here are the winds that are moving onshore. I'm drawing X's here because they're moving into the bore. So they're going in this direction. But as Alex just mentioned, we have an upper level feature in the area. And so we have these strong upper level winds going in this direction. So basically wanting to pull the top of the storm over here. So we have winds down below going one way, winds up above going a different direction. That creates that directional shear in the atmosphere that helps fuel and further intensify this tornado threat for the week.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the areas that we are most concerned about with the danger for severe storms, isolated tornadoes. We're talking East Texas all the way over towards far western sections of the Florida Panhandle.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone here in the northern Gulf Coast needs to be aware. And just so you know, we do have torcons out for this system. This is a 3 for southern Mississippi, a 4 here for southern Louisiana. That's a 40% chance for a tornado within 50 miles. We even extended to a 3 in eastern Texas.
Yeah, and we've got much more still to come. Dr. Navarro will be joining us as we continue to discuss the flood threat, the severe weather threat from Tropical Storm Cindy, as well as live reports from New Orleans.
Raz, where are you?
tracking Tropical Storm Cindy. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren, live here in New Orleans. You are watching the Weather Channel, and we are covering this storm and multiple threats. It's not where the center of the storm is going to be that's going to be the problem. It's going to be east of there, where the heaviest rain is going to be, and New Orleans is one of those places. One of many places across the southeast coastline, the Gulf coastline here. Several states flash flood watches are currently in effect. Flash flooding is a big concern with this. We are looking at the possibility of some life-threatening flooding throughout several of the Gulf Coast states. Now, some of the numbers, when we look at how much rain is expected, 5 to 8 inches could be widespread throughout parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. But what's huge, what's very crucial about this is how fast does that rain come down. If it comes down in a short period of time, we're looking at the threat for flash flooding. And you need to be aware of how to get the alerts. Flash flood warning. That means you need to take action and avoid flooded areas. Right now, we're looking at watches that are out, which means conditions are favorable for the development of flash flooding. And of course, here at the Weather Channel, we have live team coverage keeping you ahead of the storm and ahead of the dangers all throughout the southeast here. For now, this is Chris Warren here in New Orleans. Let's go back to the Weather Channel World Headquarters in Atlanta with Alex.
Thanks, Chris. And we're here with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb, to talk a little bit more about Cindy. Of course, that reconnaissance mission underway right now as they get us that real-time data that'll help forecasters like you and the National Hurricane Center moving forward on what areas might need to have warnings, changes, of course, when you're issuing these, and also what you think this storm is going to do.
Yeah, when we have watches and warnings already up, what the main purpose of the Hurricane Hunter plane missions are at this stage is to refine the intensity and size forecast, see if any modifications to the watches and warnings are required, basically to make those forecasts and warnings as accurate as possible. And when they're flying into a tropical storm, they don't fly as low as when they're investigating a wannabe depression or storm, and they don't fly as high as they do in a hurricane when they would fly at about 10,000 feet. So they descended to about 5,000 feet, kind of a compromise. And what they have found, based on flight level winds and on surface wind measurements based on their remote sensor, the step frequency microwave radiometer, is winds in the northeastern quadrant pretty close to that 45 miles an hour that they had at the 5 p.m. advisory. So that's why the intensity didn't change at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it looks like on the southwest side, they're starting to get winds close to tropical storm force. The pressure's come down a little bit. So the forecast is for slight strengthening. So none of this is a surprise, but the mission will continue well into the evening, even past midnight. So we'll continue to monitor the data from the hurricane hunters. It's a messy system, but the data from the airplane is still very valuable, even though you can see the center of circulation clearly. What we're really trying to get at is how strong is it? How big is the wind field? But we already know we're going to have a big rainfall problem from a large sloppy system like this.
And especially on the east side of the system, we think this is going to be a little lopsided in terms of the rainfall.
Yeah, and way outside that cone. Don't focus on where the center might be. Focus on how much rainfall could happen well east of there, inside and outside the cone, coastal and inland.
All right, Dr. Knabb, thank you. Hey, threat for heavy rain and flooding, that's going to extend well inland from the Gulf Coast. We've got to keep an eye on Atlanta, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, both cities with a lot of cloud cover right now and rain in the forecast. Dr. Erica Navarro here with us to break it down. Flash flooding already an issue today around the Atlanta area. We keep the flash flood watches posted for the metro.
Yeah, still a lot to keep on top of here in the Atlanta metro area because those cloud covers extend all the way up into D.C. We have heavy rain falling even up into North Carolina, but you can see flash flood warnings still in effect for DeKalb and Gwinnett County. Up to 5 inches of rain have already fallen in the metro area today, possibly even more to come. So that's plenty to be, if you're on the road, it's a messy commute for sure, a messy evening as well. So again, Lawrenceville, Redan, and Tucker, any of these cities, if you see pooling water, don't drive through it tonight. You know, that's never a situation that you want. But there's the culprit for this, Tropical Storm Cindy, and with the upper level features in play, it's helping to funnel all of this deep tropical moisture up into the southeast through the week.
Yeah, we've got that stalled frontal boundary. I know you talked about that yesterday being a focusing mechanism essentially for heavy rain, and that extends into parts of the Carolinas.
Yes, absolutely, and it's not only the front but the mountains as well. We could see perhaps even an orographic part to this story as well. So so we have to be on the lookout for some heavy rains.
A lot of components. Thank you so much, Dr. Navarro. I want to get you the very latest on a new tornado warning that has been issued here into the state of Florida. This is north of Apalachicola. The counties that we're watching at this point are Calhoun, Gulf, and Liberty counties. Until 8 o'clock Central Time. This is the warned storm. It's moving north. If you're in the area, lowest level, most interior room.
Come on in. Pull up a chair. Gather around. So many ways to invite people.
Fan community at weloveweather.tv.
Thanks for staying with us on this Tuesday. You are watching Weather Underground. I'm Alex Wilson. Mike Bettis has the evening off. Want to welcome in our viewers watching us now on the Local Now app. We've got a lot to keep an eye on this evening. A tornado warning here north of Apalachicola. We're watching the counties of Liberty and Gulf as well as Calhoun. Weewahitchka in the path of this one. 8 o'clock Central Time is the expiration on this tornado warned storm. And right there to the south and east of Weewahitchka is the area of rotation that we would be looking at. Catherine High highlighting that. Also, another area that we'll be watching east of Youngstown. And wow, Catherine, you called it just as soon as she highlighted it. Now we've got a tornado warning there as well. This would be for areas east of Youngstown. Both of these storms are moving generally to the north. Our Weewahitchka area storm moving about 20 miles an hour. This is Bay, Calhoun, and Jackson, though, the more northern storm. Weewahitchka 7:41 the anticipated arrival time. Scotts Ferry at 8:16. Sharpstown 8:31. Beyond that, Rollins Corner. If you're in the path of this, lowest level, most interior room. Sharpstown, you're not under the warning, but we'll be watching this closely. That threat has been going up for the possibility of tornadoes. And Catherine mentioning these are pretty textbook tropical tornadoes. No lightning in the area and relatively low top. So Hurricane Central here at the Weather Channel. We've got all eyes on the Gulf as Tropical Storm Cindy is working closer to the Gulf Coast this evening, promising to bring heavy rainfall that will likely create a dangerous flooding situation. We've got experts, a team of them here, including Dr. Rick Knabb and Dr. Erica Navarro. They are standing by and ready to break down the forecast, time out when you will feel the impacts. We'll also bring you real-time updates from the field. Meteorologist Chris Warren is live for us tonight in New Orleans, a city that is bracing for potential flooding. We start with Dr. Rick Knabb, former director of the National Hurricane Center, here to break down the latest forecast and explain how it's going to impact you at your home, which might not be what you think, depending on when you look at, where the storm is now and where at least the cone has it heading. But we're also getting our real-time data right now.
Yeah, and when we're dealing with a tropical storm, we're often looking for ways to discount the threat. But I tell you what, the hurricane hunters wouldn't be flying into this if there wasn't a good reason to keep up to date on what's really going on inside the system, not just how strong it is, but how large the wind field is. And they have been flying at 5,000 feet, kind of in between what they would fly higher for hurricane, lower for a wannabe depression. And they're headed back toward the east, and so they're going to head back into what will probably be the stronger side of the system. They're getting winds near tropical storm force near the center, but I think the winds closer to 45 miles an hour, they're going to find that farther east.
And that really is the business end of the storm. That's where we've seen a lot of the rainfall, the thunderstorms, and where we're actually going to see kind of a lopsided rainfall total out of this when you look at the center and where it goes, comparatively speaking, to the QPF.
Yeah, absolutely. The center of the cyclone is not the center of action. All the weather is well to the east and north, and look at all that rainfall coming into southeastern Louisiana. We've seen the bands way out here in the Florida Panhandle generating those tornadoes, but look how much more there is to come. This band goes way down into the northwestern Caribbean, this elongated big gyre that has created this tropical storm, and I don't want people to focus too much on where the center's going to go. We need to know where it's going to go. This is the track and intensity forecast, not going to become a hurricane. The center's going to go way to the west of where a lot of the hazardous weather is going to occur. But tropical storm warnings are in effect not only within the cone, but well to the east of the cone. And tropical storm force winds can cause problems. They can cause some downed branches, can cause some power line problems and outages, and can be difficult to drive in. So don't discount the wind hazard. But I do want to talk about water. Water is usually the big killer in tropical storms, not the wind. And it's not just the rainfall. It can be at the coast. Hopefully with the sun going down soon, people are going to check out on even considering going to the beach. But this rip current risk that's been high today is going to be high tomorrow too. That onshore flow can cause deadly rip currents. And the risk goes even farther to the east, the west coast of the Florida Peninsula.
An area that you're well outside the cone and you think, oh, I have no problems, our beach vacation is fine, there still is going to be a danger there. We can see the ramifications well outside where it is and where we think it's going.
Absolutely, but the biggest concern I have at the coast and inland, inside and outside the cone, is the heavy rainfall that could cause deadly flooding. This is the main way people could get into trouble, especially if they get in their cars on a water-covered roadway.
So please listen to those alerts. Dr. Knabb, thank you. I want to get you the very latest on what we know in regards to Tropical Storm Cindy right now. Alabama governor has declared a state of emergency. Some Florida Panhandle beaches are closed to the public. Houston under a tropical storm warning, and Carnival Cruise Line has changed some ship schedules due to Tropical Storm Cindy. We want to get you the very latest from the ground right now. Meteorologist Chris Warren, part of our team that is fanned out along the Gulf Coast. Chris, we've been watching the bursts of rain intensify from time to time. You know, you're there outside the aquarium. This is a city a lot of people head to during the summer months for their vacation, but that flooding risk going to be elevated in New Orleans really from now over the next 24 to 36 hours, really into the end of the week, and the severe threat too.
Yeah, thunderstorms expected day after day after day after day, but it's going to be the next several hours through tomorrow, and we're really going to have to watch for some of this rain that could come down in potentially a life-threatening fashion. We're watching and feeling the winds picking up right now, but really it is the rain that is such a problem, and part of the reason is how New Orleans is, how it's set up, and the fact that it is sinking a little bit each year, and cumulatively over time, what has happened, it has turned out essentially New Orleans has been described as like being in a bowl, similar to this, with the city inside, like this. So the idea being where we are right now, standing with the Mississippi River right there, that would be kind of like it being here, right here. The Mississippi River is right about here, sitting below, and then this area right here going down is even right here. It starts going down right, and we're watching the water flowing into the city, not back into the river, but into the city. And so you're going to see all this water building up, and it doesn't drain out. It gets pumped out. And that's very important because the pumps can only handle so much. And so earlier today, a joint news conference by city leaders and emergency management, including the mayor, emphasizing how important it is to clear out the ditches and clear out the drains, because you need that water to get in there so it can get pumped out. But we've already seen areas where there has been standing water. And, you know, when you get consistent rainfall in New Orleans, there's going to be pockets that locals are going to know about. However, what some of the dangers going forward are going to be, or for the people who might not be from around here, don't know those trouble spots. And then the fact that it's getting darker. And once night falls, it's going to be much more difficult to discern what type of flooding. Is that a big puddle over there? Is there ground that's been washed away? Is there a hole where there's a drainage cover that's no longer there? Those are things that people need to think about when you come across flooding. And flooding is going to be the big thing with this storm that we're looking at here. Tropical Storm Cindy, this is one that we're going to have to really watch out for. And again, New Orleans is so susceptible. It is coming down rather moderate, if not heavy at times. And if it keeps at this pace, probably going to be okay. But the big concern is going to be the overnight hours. And tomorrow, if a band sets up right over New Orleans, that could mean trouble. Much like many spots in the Gulf Coast states here, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. We're going to be keeping a very close eye. Thank you so much for your live reports there. Again, Chris, just one of our team members that's out there on the ground to bring you the very latest, and we'll have live reports continuing over the next several days. Want to get you our expert analysis, again, that you can only get here on the Weather Channel. Dr. Erica Navarro in the lab to talk more about the active weather. We've seen tornado warnings firing up now within the last 15 to 20 minutes. So that concern, we said it was increasing. You mentioned it, and here we're seeing it.
Yeah, we're seeing that now. We've been talking about it all night, and here we go. We have 2 tornado warnings now in Florida as the outer bands of Tropical Storm Cindy are making their way onto land. This increases the wind shear as it moves onto land, and we're seeing 2 different areas of rotation now in the western panhandle of Florida. So this tornado warning is for Calhoun, Gulf, and Liberty County. This goes until 8 p.m. Central Time. And notice there's another one just to its north. These are very slow-moving bands that are coming in about 20 miles an hour, so they're not going anywhere in the near term. This tornado warning includes Bay, Calhoun, and Jackson County until 8:15 p.m. Central Time. If we take a look at the velocity, you can see 2 very well-defined couplets. These are very concise, and notice there is not a lot of lightning with these systems, and they're very shallow. This is textbook hurricane or tropical cyclone-induced tornadoes, as Catherine Prosef and I were just talking about. But here we go. Let's time it out for you. Right around 8:30 p.m., Rollins Corner, expect this system to start making its way towards you. About 8:58 into Alpha, and then by 9:20 heading into the Simsville area. That's the southernmost system that's now near Wahachwaka at the moment. But if we move a little bit further north, this next system will be moving into the I-10 corridor in the next 30 or so minutes. So Alfred by 8:24 p.m. expect that situation to come your way, and then Cottondale by 8:45 p.m. And so, yep, this threat, Alex, will continue through the night. Tonight into tomorrow looks to be our greatest threat for severe, but that threat really continues through Thursday this week.
All right, Dr. Navarro, thank you so much. Coming up on Weather Underground, we're going to break down another significant danger from Tropical Storm Cindy. That is the rip current danger along the coast. We have life-saving information you need to know next.
When you schedule with Safe by Autoglass, you get
Welcome back into Weather Underground. We are watching tornado warning. Welcome back into Weather Underground. We are watching tornado warned storms here moving on to the Florida Panhandle. It's north and northwest of Apalachicola. Here in Calhoun, Gulf, Liberty counties, we're under a tornado warning, including the Weewahitchka area until 8 o'clock Central Time. Just north of that, we've got another storm moving generally to the north-northwest. Bay, Calhoun, and Jackson counties under this warning until 8:15. There are the areas of rotation. So notice a noticeable area of rotation here on our storm velocity. Catherine's highlighting both of those. So these storms capable of producing a tornado if you're in the path of this lowest level, most interior room where you want to be. And this has been a threat that we've been concerned about throughout the day. And now that we're in the evening through the overnight hours, there will be that concern, that danger for these tornado warned storms and tornado producing storms to move on shore. As we look at the southernmost warning, Weewahitchka in the path of this one, 7:51 Central Time. So you've got about 11 minutes. Scotts Ferry beyond that at 8:22, and then Sharptown, but not in the warning there. Still, we could see that warning extended. Here east of Youngstown, that's where you also want to be in your low level, most interior room as this storm moves and continues northward, eventually towards the I-10 area, likely moving east of Chipley, but Betts up next at 8:06. So we have seen some issues along the Gulf today thanks to Tropical Storm Cindy. Big waves, rip currents, and double red flags at the beach mean that folks are not going in the water. You're looking at Orange Beach, Alabama, where anybody who wanted to, hop in the water, get some sun, not able to do that today. Dr. Rick Knabb back with us. The ocean danger, just one of those water threats. We talk about the very heavy rainfall, but rip currents, and often sometimes forgotten threat, especially with folks who are farther away from the storm.
Yeah, and curiosity gets the best of some folks, or the thrill-seeking or whatever it is, are not realizing just how dangerous the ocean can be in a situation like this, where you have this really strong onshore flow on the east side of the tropical storm pushing the ocean into the Florida Panhandle, the Alabama coastline. And what happens when you do that is the waves break over the sandbar onto the immediate beach, and the water starts to build up. The shore line, the water rise is very noticeable right near the immediate beach, and you create this pressure buildup of water collecting between the sandbar and the immediate beach, and then currents that have gone over the sandbar start to converge, and they build up enough mass and force that they turn outward, and they actually break the sandbar and create an opening for the water to start rushing back out away from the beach. And if you're caught in that, it's going to take you out away from the immediate coastline. And a lot of people, they start panicking and think, oh my gosh, I'm getting taken away from the beach. That's not the way I want to go. And they start swimming back toward the beach against the rip current. But don't do that. Swim parallel to the shore. Better yet, don't even go in the ocean. Don't get caught in one of these. Just stay out of the water.
Especially listen to the lifeguards, because they know what to look for. They're trained, and if they're telling you to stay out of the water, you definitely want to do that. I want to rejoin with Chris Warren. He's live in New Orleans tonight. Chris, we've seen the rainfall pick up in intensity, lessen. At this point, not as much rain. You mentioned if we can keep this going, the threat for flooding goes down, but the concern, of course, is that you get a slug of very heavy rain over a short period of time.
That's exactly right. In fact, I want to ask Dr. Knabb a couple questions, if I can, as we're seeing some boat traffic down the Mississippi River right now. Dr. Knabb, question for you is, so far, as you've been looking at this tropical storm and the rain patterns you've been looking at, is it playing out as you would have thought, or has there been any surprises in your mind?
Well, the way it's playing out, as I think we have all thought, is that we have some locally heavy rainfall rates occurring. There's an area just coming into southeastern Louisiana toward the Mississippi coast where you could see rainfall rates up to 3 inches per hour. And that might come and go after a while, and then you might have a break, but then you might have another round of rainfall later overnight into tomorrow, and this could last for a couple of days. So some folks might be thinking, what rain? I'm not getting anything. And then later on into tomorrow, maybe they'll get some heavy rainfall. So you can really rack up the rainfall totals quickly when these bands come in. And then as that happens over and over the next 2 to 3 days, that's how the flash flooding threat could really materialize. Again, if it happens in your area, flash flood warning goes up. stay off the water-covered roadways. Just don't let yourself die in your car. That's the way people die in these situations.
Absolutely. And we're going to keep our team of experts here, Dr. Navarro, Dr. Nab, and we're going to answer some of your questions coming up. Of course, we'll have more on Tropical Storm Cindy as Weather Underground continues.
Beyond is a natural pet food that goes beyond assuming ingredients are safe to knowing they are. Going beyond expectations because our pets deserve it. Beyond, natural pet food.
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
Spring is a pretty good season. It's sort of invigorating, and the change in the weather is fascinating.
Spring weather is that transitional season where we start to see thunderstorms develop.
The weather is really changeable in the springtime, and you get pretty exciting storms. I mean, that's something that I just really love.
My appreciation for spring weather has grown immensely at the Weather Channel. Severe weather is so fascinating to see it develop. If you love the weather as much as we do, join us at weloveweather.tv.
Currently in our area, 88 degrees under sunny skies. Tonight, mostly clear, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. High 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms. Low 71. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
You don't know this yet, but in 1,500 miles, you'll see what you're really made of. After 5 hours of spinning and one unfortunate ride on the Gravitron, your grandkids spot a 6-foot banana that you need to win. In that moment, you'll be happy you partnered with the Humana Care Manager and got your health back on track, because that banana isn't coming home with you until that bell sings. Great things are ahead of you when your health is ready for them. At Humana, we can help you with a personalized plan for your health for years to come.
20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bow lines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover.
Corolla with Toyota Safety Sense Standard. Toyota, let's go places.
Working on my feet all day gave me pain here.
In my knees.
So I stepped on this machine and got my number, which matched my Dr. Scholl's custom-fit orthotic inserts. So I get immediate relief from my foot pain.
My knee pain.
Find a machine at drscholls.com.
The best tour of Italy is the one you create at Olive Garden. Create your own tour of Italy starting at $12.99. Choose 3 of 9 of your favorites and have everything you love all on one plate. Create your own tour of Italy for a limited time only at Olive Garden.
If you're an active person and enjoy working out, playing tennis, golf, hiking, bike riding, even bowling, then there's a good chance you have pain. But now, regardless of your age, if you have insurance and you're in pain, we can help. Whether you need a wrist or knee brace, we can help. Prescription topical ointments, we can help. Need a back brace? We can help. We have many pain relief options available with little or no cost to you. The call is free, the shipping is free, and all the paperwork is handled for free. Call Pain Relief Solutions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are here to help. Regardless of your age, if you have insurance and you're in pain, we can help. What are you waiting for?
Call one of our pain relief specialists at 800-238-0214. That's 800-238-0214. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Why are you putting up with pain? Call now, 800-238-0214.
Start your day with Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno, opening the window to your weather on AMHQ. Mornings on the Weather Channel.
Welcome back into Weather Underground. We are tracking tornado-warned storms here, moving on to parts of the Florida Panhandle. At this point, we have a warning. This continues for Bay, Calhoun, and Jackson counties in the state of Florida. So this is south of I-10, and here Catherine is showing us the storm velocity. So this is giving us an idea of where winds are moving towards and away from the radar here in that area where you have the green coupled up against the red. That's a rain moving towards and away from the radar. So within that area where she's highlighted the rotation would be where we suspect the possibility for a tornado lies. This storm is east of Youngstown, moving to the north. Betts, you're up next at 8:11 Central Time, and then we are watching Compass Lake at 8:22 local time. Want to jump over to the tropics? You know, this all part of Tropical Storm Cindy. Hurricane expert Dr. Rick Knabb here with us. We continue to track the hurricane hunters reconnaissance flight out there over the Gulf of Mexico. And you've said, you know, if they weren't concerned about the threats that this storm could bring, we wouldn't even be doing these. So just goes to show you that we do expect this to be an impactful storm along the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, we do. They fly into tropical storms because it's still very important to know just how strong the system is, how low the pressure is, how big the wind field is. All of that helps the Hurricane Center forecasters get off to a good start on their complete forecast package. That'll come out at 11 p.m. Eastern time tonight. And in looking at the data from the hurricane hunters, it again continues to confirm that the maximum winds are not near the center of the cyclone. They're out here farther to the north and to the east. And that is why we don't want to focus too much on where the center is located and what the forecast track in the cone is. The center of the cyclone is not the center of action. The weather is mostly going to be pretty far removed from that center, and it's really important for folks to realize when they see maximum winds of 45 miles an hour, that's not necessarily anywhere near the center. That could be far away, maybe 100, 150 miles away. So that means that tropical storm warning area is well placed.
Right, and you know, unfortunately, sometimes when people do, you know, the quick search, they just open up the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center and they think, all right, I'm in it or I'm not, and the decision making ends there. But this is a system that is going to be different, and we're not going to see the main impacts or the only effects within that cone.
No, and I want to give people confidence in our explanation of this by showing you why the system is so large and sprawling. It has to do partially because we have this upper level low over the northwestern Gulf imparting all this wind shear. That displaces the winds and the weather, the rainfall, farther to the north and to the east. So we're not making this stuff up, and we know why it's happening. Oh, darn it, the sun's going down. I'm going to lose my visible imagery. Come on.
Time for you to go home.
I guess so. But we're going to lose visible imagery, but Cindy's not going away anytime soon. It's too large for that wind shear to tear it apart, but it is displacing all of that thunderstorm activity off to the north and to the east. And you can see there's the well-defined circulation center just going down with the sun there, but that's where the aircraft has been flying, not finding the strongest winds there. They're finding the strongest winds and the strongest convection off to the north and east. And it's those bands, one of which is coming into southeastern Louisiana and Mississippi right now, could have rainfall rates, say 3 inches an hour.
And that would be a real problem.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning.
Right.
And not just at the coast, but spreading well inland over the next few days. This could be the deadliest hazard of all in this tropical storm scenario if people get into trouble in their cars. Most likely, if you stay off the roads where there's water on the roadway, and if you don't go around a barricade that says the road closed, and you take flash flood watches and warnings seriously, you're probably going to survive this event. Yeah. So let's just be careful with your driving, and you'll probably survive what could be a very deadly hazard if you don't be careful.
And our friend Christopher Bannon from the National Weather Service office in Slidell also mentioned that danger once we get into the overnight hours. Now, it becomes extremely difficult to judge the depth of water, so even more imperative that you heed the signs if it says road closed, or you just don't get out there on the roads.
Yeah, and 6 inches to 1 foot of water can float and even move a car. So you really have to be a little bit more afraid of the water than you might initially be inclined to be.
Absolutely.
Not just be afraid of the wind.
Yeah, you know, and we had not just one, but 2 tropical storms in the Atlantic Basin, at least for a couple hours this afternoon, including Tropical Storm Brett. This one, no longer a tropical storm. In fact, now we're just looking at the remnants. You know, it is still causing some issues. You're looking at video from Trinidad last night. Luckily, Trinidad and Tobago able to have those warnings up in place. We were watching potential tropical cyclone number 2. Then it became Tropical Storm Brett. So they got the warnings, but as quickly as we had it, it's gone.
Yeah, and the meteorological setup was pretty well anticipated that once it got into the Caribbean that it would struggle against a lot of wind shear. And because it was a small tropical storm, it was even more susceptible to falling apart quickly. Maybe not this fast.
Right.
This really tanked really quickly, but that's good news for the ABC Islands that are probably going to get off without a really big rain event, which was one of the biggest concerns I had. Also good news for those of us farther west here in the U.S. Not likely to be a big impact on us unless it tries to redevelop over the Gulf like things tend to do in June, but not worried about that right now.
And of course, we'll watch it. Of course, all eyes on Cindy. Catherine Prosiv, our weather producer, you've been monitoring the questions that folks have been asking in regards to Cindy.
Yes, and we've got a good one from Kenny. Does Western Tennessee have a chance of getting anything from the potential tropical cyclone, which is now Cindy?
And yes, heavy rainfall could be an issue.
Yes, you look at that rainfall map we've been talking about. The cone brings the center of circulation in the general direction of Tennessee, but the rainfall will start in that area well ahead of that. You could get flooding range locally there.
So inland flooding, just as much of concern. And we're going to be talking more about that. We've got extended coverage with you. Our team standing by, Rich Johnson and Dr. Erica Navarro, along with Carl Parker, will be with you through the next few hours.
Currently in our area, 88 degrees under sunny skies. Tonight, mostly clear, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms, low 71. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain, 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Enough rain to cover cars to their hoods. Relentless rain, the biggest threat from our newest tropical storm.
Yeah, Tropical Storm Cindy pumping rain as far inland as Atlanta. And the threat not stopping tonight. More than 13 million people here at risk for flooding as Cindy churns slowly in the Gulf of Mexico.
And we're here to keep you ahead of Cindy and all its threats. I'm meteorologist Rich Johnson.
And I'm meteorologist Dr. Erica Navarro. This is our special storm coverage on Tropical Storm Cindy. And now it is making its approach in the Gulf of Mexico into the northern Gulf. Here it is, Tropical Storm Cindy, winds right about 45 miles per hour. Pressure dropping into the 99.7 millibars. And notice it's not moving at the moment, Rich. Stationary, but those clouds making their way into New Orleans.
Yeah, we've seen the pressure just drop off a little bit today, but over the last, a good 6 hours now, not more, the system's been stationary.
Yeah, stationary, and that always poses the threat of some very heavy rainfall with a slow-moving system. Here are the areas that are currently under tropical storm warnings. Notice these extend all the way from Houston, Texas, through Morgan City, even as far east as New Orleans. So the threat here for some strong winds, as well as, again, the potential for very heavy rainfall with this system.
Yeah, we're seeing some of those gusts off the coast. Sometimes all the way up to around 60 miles an hour. Much of the Gulf Coast is, as we said, under some type of watch or warning right now.
Yes, and we have more on that with our storm specialist, Carl Parker.
Yeah, and this has always been all about the rain, and tremendous amounts of rain coming down along the Gulf Coast, and they will continue to tonight and tomorrow, and then even into Thursday. Some of that heavier rain moving inland into parts of Texas as well, with the remnant low as it comes up through the eastern part of the state. And here's a look at what's happening right now. We are seeing some pretty gusty wind, as Rich mentioned, in Boothville, which really sticks out there right along the mouth of the Mississippi. Winds gusting up to 45 miles per hour within the last couple of hours. Winds gusting to 33 in New Orleans, and that rain is really coming down. And as you look at the satellite picture here, this is the water vapor imagery. I've got the center of the circulation on there. You can see how discombobulated this system is. You've got a lot of weather here on the north and east side of that circulation, but the cloud is not very well organized at all. This thing is really being sheared, which we'll show you in a moment. This is the visible satellite picture, and you can very clearly see the low-level center there in the last images of the day. And the weather well off to the north and east of that because of this strong shear coming in from the southwest, blowing everything away from that center. So it's just not going to get much stronger in that environment. But we've got this tremendous feed of deep tropical moisture. This is looking at the precipitable water, the total amount of moisture in the atmosphere, this huge feed of tropical moisture coming up from very far to the south, well down into the Caribbean, and that's what's really hitting us here along the Gulf Coast. So this area in particular, from northwest Florida into Louisiana, is where we're most concerned about the possibility of life-threatening flash flooding. So please, please be very careful in these areas tonight. You can see that heavy rain, a big wave of heavy rain now coming right into that I-10 corridor. There are no flash flood warnings right now, but we certainly could see some. We've had about 5 to 10 inches of rain in the last couple of weeks here, and the soil moisture is very high in this region, so we're expecting that there will be flash flood warnings across a lot of the area. There's a look at the model forecast. You can see these waves of very heavy rain continuing to drive up and into that I-10 corridor right into tomorrow morning, maybe more directed on northwest Florida through the middle of the day tomorrow. And this is a look at the forecast rainfall, talking about a really sizable area of 5 to 8 inches of rain there extending across parts of southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, southeast Louisiana, within that 8 to 12. So again, that area from New Orleans across Lake Pontchartrain into southern Mississippi, Biloxi, Pascagoula, over towards Alabama. That's where we could be talking about some double-digit rainfall. And again, looking at the longer term here, you see this moisture continuing to drive up into the Gulf Coast, and then that remnant low coming up into parts of Texas and near the Arklatex. And there, too, there could be concerns about flooding going into Thursday. Erica, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Carr. Let's go ahead and look at some city-specific timing here. You're taking a look on the camera at Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Birmingham, Alabama. Notice this threat is going to extend well inland, so even areas far away from the coast could be looking at potentially very high values of rainfall into the coming week. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the future radar to get an idea of what we can expect for timing. We're going to take a look first at Mobile, Alabama, because this is one of these places that we could be talking the potential for some double-digit rainfall. Now, we're starting tonight, Tuesday night, 9 p.m., and notice lots of yellow and red colors here coming on shore. By 1 o'clock, we can expect that next round of storms to come into the area. So all the major roadways, I-10, I-65, even I-59 out into Mississippi, we could be seeing some very heavy rainfall on the roads, making it very dangerous for any kind of travel if you're going to be out. Note, this is going to continue into tomorrow morning's rush hour. This is 5:30 a.m. tomorrow. And notice Mobile, possibly a third round of storms coming your way. And notice Pensacola on I-10. Again, it could be very messy in a lot of these areas. So please take caution if you're planning to be on the road. This threat will continue through the week. And again, we're talking the potential for some very high rainfall. So right here on the coast, Gulfport, Mississippi, we're talking, again, 10 inches of rain. Rich, it's a lot of rainfall coming this way.
Tropical storm Cindy already having impacts. Here's what we know right now. Alabama's governor has declared a state of emergency. Some Florida Panhandle beaches are closed to the public, so you definitely want to check ahead. Houston's under a tropical storm warning, and Carnival Cruise Line is changing some of its cruises set to depart this week. Communities are doing what they can do to prepare in Louisiana. Sandbagging already underway. We'll have much more on the situation coming up in just a few seconds.
All this week on GSN.
Name something brown and sticky.
Earwax. It's Epic Fail Week.
Name something a burglar would not want to see.
Naked Grandma!
Naked, huh?
Family Feud's most epic fails every night this week. Check your local listings for GSN.
Okay, careful, careful, careful. Oh. All this stuff.
Such a waste. Gorilla Glue.
Of course.
Gorilla Glue bonds wood, stone, metal, ceramic, and more. Gorilla Glue, for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
You can see what you like. I'll pay you no mind. 'Cause I've heard it before 1,000 times. Break my balls, but you'll never.
While other insurance companies just see a truck, we see something you've worked really hard for. So why not give it the protection it deserves?
It's just what you see.
Working on my feet all day gave me pain here.
In my knees.
So I stepped on this machine and got my number, which matched my Dr. Scholl's custom-fit orthotic inserts. So I get immediate relief from my foot pain.
My knee pain.
Find a machine at drscholl's.com.
It's Domino's. I have to go.
Looking for this?
Yeah.
Order and track your pizza with Domino's Tracker.
I've got everything I need beside me. You've got a smile that makes the world shine brighter.
Whether for big meetings or little getaways, there are always smiles ahead at Holiday Inn.
There's an opportunity in every window. So start your day opening the window to your weather with Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno looking out at the stories and the science behind your forecast. Open up your mornings with AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 88 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, mostly clear, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. High 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms. Low 71. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
If you love the window seat, start your day opening the window to your weather with AMHQ. Mornings on the Weather Channel.
Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy combines German-style Weiss beer with the taste of natural lemonade. It's as refreshing as refreshment gets. Leinenkugel's. Welcome to the Leinie side.
I want the most out of my health and life, so I trust Nature Made vitamins. Because they were the first to be verified by USP for quality and purity standards, and because I recommend them as a pharmacist.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Your brain is an amazing thing. But as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
Dermatologists recommend Cetaphil for sensitive skin. It hydrates for 24 hours. Women recommend Cetaphil because of how it makes them feel. Healthy skin is Beautifil. Cetaphil.
A windy time indeed here on one of the oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, this south of Grand Isle, Louisiana.
Tropical Storm Cindy making itself felt over the Gulf and onshore and well inland also.
Right now, we have the governor of Louisiana, John Bell Edwards, on the phone to discuss the impacts of Tropical Storm Cindy. And Governor, these impacts are going to be felt far and wide along the Gulf Coast. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you and Rich. There's still a lot of uncertainty, but we do know that we're expecting this to be much more of a rain event than a wind event, although there's certainly the possibility that we'll have some wind damage and, a slightly elevated risk for even tornadoes. But this is going to be a rain event. And what I'm trying to caution folks about is this is going to be for the entire state of Louisiana. I know that we're looking primarily at the southeastern portion of our state down along the coast. But we had 56 out of 64 parishes last year declared a federal disaster, and none of them were a named storm, and it was all because of rain and flooding. So we need to take this very seriously. We are, and the message to the people of Louisiana is we're ready, but we need the people to do their part as well.
Governor, can you tell us a little bit about what precautions you're taking for some of the coastal areas, of course, including New Orleans area, a little bit inland where the highest population center is?
Well, the Louisiana National Guard, we have an awful lot of practice in these types of events, and they've moved assets into areas where we are staging them in case they're needed, both high water vehicles as well as National Guard helicopters so that they can effect search and rescue. FEMA has already moved 25,000 meals into the state, about 200,000 liters of water as well. But we do ask people to go to emergency.la.gov and also get a game plan app. Get a game plan app so that they can be ready and do what they're asked to do. The most important thing that I would tell people, Rich and Eric, is stay off the roads. In August, we had several deaths in Louisiana and a lot of serious injuries. Most of them occurred when folks were trying to get their way through high water in vehicles, and the vehicles were swept off the road and into deeper water, and in many cases several people drowned. So we are asking people to, if you see high water, do not attempt to cross it.
Yes, that's great advice and always an avoidable disaster. Now, Governor, is there any concern about the city's new pumping system being able to keep up with all this rain that's forecasted?
Well, we are better able now to deal with rain and storms than we've ever been. There's been an awful lot of investment in that infrastructure down in New Orleans, but really all around the state of Louisiana. So, we're ready. Now, we're not taking anything for granted. We've been testing our systems over the last couple of days. The Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness has been operational, talking to all the folks at the parish level and at the various municipalities as well. And so we feel good that we're ready, but you never know exactly what's going to come. But, this is a rain event. We feel sure we're going to have flash flooding, but we don't know how bad, and we don't know exactly where.
All right, Governor, thanks so much for joining us and updating us on the situation across the state of Louisiana. And Erica, as we look at the situation, the Governor of Louisiana was telling us, of course, this is mostly a flooding concern.
Yes, absolutely. And again, those flooding, it's an avoidable disaster. Do not drive in the roads if you don't have to. But we're already seeing the impacts of Tropical Storm Cindy here and even in the Atlanta metro area. We have new images today from the Buckhead area as trees tumbling into the road. Very strong winds coming into the area. And now we'll have more on this right after the break.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others. Let others do for you.
Long live Spirit. And long live the truck with the strength to keep the faith. Ram, America's longest lasting pickups.
Now get 0% APR financing for 72 months on 2017 Ram 1500 quad and regular cabs.
Hey, Kitty, you got a minute? Sure. I'll scroll through my feed to avoid making eye contact.
Cool. I'll just hover uncomfortably till I get the answers I need.
Wouldn't it be great if everyone said what they meant? The Citi Double Cash Card does. Earn 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. Double means double.
So your new prescription does have a few side effects.
Oh, like what?
You're gonna have dizziness, nausea, and sweaty eyelids, and in severe cases, chronic flatulence.
No.
So gassy, girl.
So gassy. If you're Boys to Men, you make anything sound good. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
Next.
Next.
It's amazing out there means that you could take what some might call a boring weather day, but find a lot of fascinating aspects. You can look up in the sky and there's something to learn about the clouds or about the precipitation that's falling every single day. There's a lot of amazing stuff happening out there.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington. The average person spends 282 minutes on their smartphone every day, but it only takes 60 seconds to find your perfect mortgage with Guaranteed Rate's easy, intuitive loan finder. Just go to rate.com and answer a series of simple questions about your specific mortgage needs. And the intuitive loan finder's powerful decision engine will generate a customized list of the best loan products at the lowest rates for you, all in less than 60 seconds, and all for free. Guaranteed Rate has helped over 500,000 happy customers find the right mortgage with low rates. And now they've made it even easier. Choosing the right mortgage could save you thousands of dollars. Isn't it worth only a minute of your time to check your options? Whether you're buying or refinancing your home, get a low rate from Guaranteed Rate today. Visit rate.com right now to see how much you could save. Call 1-888-812-5050 or visit rate.com.
Stay tuned for your Local on the 8s, brought to you by Coppertone, because protection matters.
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
For a limited time, you can get a half chicken meal with this farm fresh, never frozen Boston Market rotisserie chicken with 2 sides and freshly baked cornbread for just $8.49. Boston Market. Dinner is ready.
Gotcha, Mom. But now that you're listening, did you know that Capri Sun doesn't have all the artificial stuff you think it has? Well, you do now. Get those kids some Capri Sun.
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
Currently in our area, 87 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. High 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms. Low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
You can see right here, red flag flying along Pensacola Beach, Florida. Officials have closed some of the beaches to the public in the Panhandle. Among the communities affected are Destin, South Walton, and Panama City. Surf is very rough as Cindy approaches farther to the west, but certainly a lot of that flow coming in. And that risk with that flow coming from the Gulf all the way from the south to north, it is carrying up the waves. The waves are getting stronger, and that is really starting to build the rip current risk. And of course, where the beaches are closed, this should not be a problem because nobody should be into the water. But what we have here is you get all this water piled up. Eventually, it has to go back out, and you get these channels of water which develop. And the one thing you have to know is that these channels here, typically 10, 20 feet or larger in width, but you want to swim parallel to the beach. You don't try to swim directly back. That is basically trying to swim against the currents, but you want to swim parallel to the beaches. So the rip currents, as you get more water coming in, you will get the stronger rip currents developing. And again, what we are hoping here is that with this, some of the beaches closed, nobody will be out there venturing into the water. All right, rip current risk tomorrow, really all the way from St. George Island all the way back over to around Dauphin Island, over toward Alabama. That's the area of concern. There's other impacts that we are also looking at for the coastal areas. Here's Erica with the look at that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rich. There's so many impacts here to talk about with this system. Obviously, our greatest threat here we're still talking about is the rain threat, but we have the topography in the area that also adds and comes into play whenever we have a tropical system making its way through the Gulf of Mexico. So taking a look at the central Gulf Coast, you can see here that the topography underneath the ocean here is fairly shallow, you know, and these shallow shelves, when we have a system coming in and you have a long fetch of wind pushing that water onto the land, this could, you know, this enhances enhances the threat for some storm surge. Now, again, we're not talking the threat for very large storm surge with this system, but all of these low-lying areas still need to be aware because coastal flooding can and will be in play as we move forward in time. So taking a look at these areas in Mississippi, you can see Bay St. Louis, Gulfport, Biloxi, all of these areas just about below 10 feet sea level. And notice a lot of population and homes in this region as well, about 44,000 people living in this area. So a lot of people at risk here for some coastal flooding and definitely need to be on the alert through tonight, even into tomorrow and Thursday. Going a little bit further east, you can see in the Gulf Shores area and even out into Pensacola, pretty much the same situation. Elevation there fairly low and a lot of people there, 50,000 people. So a lot of areas at risk, and we always talk about that threat for storm surge here in the Florida Panhandle. But again, even though this is in play and we are expecting to see coastal flooding, it's the rainfall that we really need to be concerned about here. Coastal flood advisories are up here from New Orleans all the way to the east through Apalachicola and St. Mark's. So definitely be on the lookout tomorrow for this. Again, some strong winds as well. Tropical storm force winds with this system coming in right now, already 45 miles per hour just to the southeast of Houston. So definitely one to look out for through the night, Rich, into the early morning hours tomorrow.
Yeah, good advice there. And also we're looking at situations, some cities not even being directly along the coast, preparing for Cindy also. The greater Houston area, one of those places at risk from the storm. Tropical storm warning blankets the city right now. And you are looking live at LaPorte, Texas. That's in the greater Houston metro. Flooding rain a concern. But think for a minute about this area. It's home to a number of oil and gas operations, adding a new dimension to the flood concern. So, of course, as we look at this area right here, water starts to rise. Remember this, that the chemical hazards often found lurking in the flood water. Now, that's why you should be aware of the sources of chemicals around you, and if you're exposed, be sure to wash your clothes and yourself as soon as possible. More on Cindy. That's next.
Do we apply sunscreen? Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters. Brought to you by Coppertone, because protection matters.
Working on my feet all day gave me pain here.
In my knees.
So I stepped on this machine and got my number, which matched my Dr. Scholl's custom-fit orthotic inserts. So I get immediate relief from my foot pain.
My knee pain.
Find a machine at drscholls.com.
You don't let anything keep you sidelined. That's why you drink Ensure with 9 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. For the strength and energy to get back to doing what you love. Ensure, always be you.
It's time to pick a used car.
I really don't want to get ripped off.
I can help.
Yeah, show me the Carfax.
Only Carfax gives you the most accurate price based on a car's history. Start your used car search and get free Carfax reports at Carfax.com.
Impressive, Linda. It seems age isn't slowing you down. But your immune system weakens as you get older, increasing the risk for me, the shingles virus, especially after 50. I've been lurking inside you since you had chicken pox. I could surface any time as a painful, blistering rash. 1 in 3 people get me in their lifetime, Linda. Will it be you?
And that's why Linda got me. Zostavax, a single-shot vaccine. I'm working to boost Linda's immune system to help protect her against you, shingles. Zostavax is a vaccine used to prevent shingles in adults 50 years of age and older. Zostavax does not protect everyone and cannot be used to treat shingles or the nerve pain that may follow it. You should not get Zostavax if you are allergic to gelatin or neomycin, have a weakened immune system, or take high doses of steroids, are pregnant, or plan to become pregnant. The most common side effects include redness, pain, itching, swelling, hard lump, warmth or bruising at the injection site, and headache. It's important to talk to your doctor about what situations you may need to avoid, since Zostavax contains a weakened chickenpox virus. Remember, 1 in 3 people get shingles in their lifetime. Will it be you? Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about me, single-shot Zostavax. You've got a shot against shingles.
Action. Dogs love my Nutrish treat. Whoa.
New real meat treats from Rachel Ray Nutrish, inspired by recipes from Rachel's Kitchen. U.S. beef or chicken is the first ingredient. Treats from Nutrish. Real recipes, real ingredients, real good.
Nothing spoils a moment like heartburn. Try new Alka-Seltzer Ultra Strength Heartburn Relief Chews. It's fast, powerful relief with no chalky taste. Ultra Strength, new from Alka-Seltzer. Enjoy the relief.
Introducing new Parodontax, the toothpaste that helps prevent bleeding gums. If you spit blood when you brush or floss, you may have gum problems and could be on the journey to much worse. Help stop the journey of gum disease. Try new Parodontax toothpaste.
You know what makes me a weather geek is owning like 5 weather stations at my house, and then I name them. Who does that? Seriously. I did. I named my weather station Albedo. For you weather geeks, you'll understand what that is. And then I have Albedo Jr. Donuts. Join the Weather Channel fan community at weloveweather.tv.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under sunny skies. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms, low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
This could potentially have a serious impact. We get a lot of rain, you are going to have significant flooding.
Those are some of the scenes from Cindy already. Welcome back to our special coverage of Tropical Storm Cindy. I'm meteorologist Rich Johnson.
And I'm meteorologist Dr. Erica Navarro. Tropical Storm Cindy is already a dangerous storm that threatens a very large area. Here are the areas that we're currently concerned about with the tropical storm warnings. And now notice this threat extends all the way from Houston through the North Gulf Coast into New Orleans. So a lot of areas here at play. And regardless of where the center of this storm goes, it's the rainfall that we're really on the concern for.
Yeah, the winds will make some impact, but by far the greatest concern will be the heavy rain. Some cases could be 10 inches or more.
Yes, a double-digit rainfall and well away from the coast. It's not just a coastal threat with this system. If you live in any of these areas in the southeast, you need to be on the alert for some very potentially heavy rainfall.
All right, and Cindy's already having quite an impact, as you saw by some of those scenes. Right now, let's head back over and take a look at what we know right now. Alabama governor has already declared a state of emergency. 6 million under tropical storm warnings, 13 million under flash flood watches. Swimming at several beaches, that's back over the Florida Panhandle, and Alabama is prohibited due to the dangerous surf conditions. Well, as you come to expect, we're in this field covering Tropical Storm Cindy for the long haul with its impacts.
Yes, and here's our team. We are fanned out all across the Gulf Coast. Our team includes Chris Warren. He's in New Orleans, and we also have a team again through Houston all the way up into Atlanta.
Yeah, earlier he updated us on the reasons why New Orleans is so vulnerable to flooding from tropical systems.
New Orleans is extremely susceptible to flooding. A big reason for that, the city itself sits below sea level, at least a big portion of it does, and an even bigger portion sits below the level of the Mississippi rivers, which we're looking at out here. And that's really a high point right there with this plaza, and then it slopes down toward the city. So rain flows in there to essentially what is like a bowl. So essentially you have a bowl right here, and you have New Orleans, the city, in there. So what happens when you get very heavy rain like this? This water needs to be pumped out. And essentially, that Mississippi River is like right here, okay? It's like right here, and this is essentially the edge over here. And then we come over, and it gives you an idea. You can kind of see it slopes down, and those are actually walls too. Those are flood walls that they can close if they were threatened by the Mississippi River flooding. However, that is not the case. The flooding that we're concerned here is the rainfall coming straight down into the bowl that's going to need to be pumped out. And if they can't pump it out fast enough, about an inch for the first hour, then a half an inch every hour after that. If it comes down at an inch or 2 inches an hour, that's going to be some problem. The other issue is going to be the fact that it's going to be dark overnight, which it is every night, right? But when you have flooding at night, it makes it that much more difficult driving around to discern where the road is and is it. And oftentimes when you have flooded areas, there might not be a road anymore and you can't tell. So going through the overnight hours and early morning before that sun comes up, that is going to be one of the big dangers here in New Orleans and throughout much of the southeast.
All right, always good advice to watch out for some of that high water. Well, let's bring you up to speed on Tropical Storm Cindy right now.
Yes, 45-mile-per-hour winds at the moment. Pressure about 997 millibars, so steadily dropping, but Cindy stationary at the moment. It is currently meandering over the central Gulf of Mexico, not anticipated to go anywhere in the near term. And so let's go ahead and get a little bit more analysis on this with our storm expert, Carl Parker.
You know, we are watching this possibility, Eric, of tornadoes coming into northwest Florida and along the northern Gulf Coast, as there is a lot of wind shear in the low levels of the atmosphere. And I want to show you, excuse me, what's going on with the radar picture right now. And you can see where we've got a number of different cells that are coming into northwest Florida that are offshore right in there, and then some that are onshore in here. And take a look at the velocity data when we get down and look at this a little bit more closely. You see these little pinpoints. There's one showing up right there. There's another one right in here. And there's another one showing up over in here. So all of these cells are showing some level of rotation right now. We're seeing that onshore as well in northwest Florida, just not at this time rising to the level of tornado warning, though that's getting a little more interesting right in there. And then we did have a tornado warning earlier right along 231. So this is the kind of thing that we'll be looking out for today. And when you look at the winds here in the low levels of the atmosphere and also at the surface, when we zoom down into this area, you see that there is an easterly wind at the surface, and winds are coming out of the southeast at about a mile up. So that's a lot of turning of the low-level winds. And when you have that level of turning of the low-level winds and also the increase in speed, that's what leads to the possibility of tornadoes. So we've got a 4 out of 10 on the Torcon in southern parts of Louisiana, a 3 out of 10 a little farther along towards the east. And we're getting some pretty strong non-thunderstorm wind as well. Winds gusting to 45, 46 miles per hour in the last few hours there in Boothville, right along the mouth of the Mississippi. In addition to that, a lot of heavy rain coming in. That's really going to be the biggest impact from this storm. There's the center of circulation right there, and you've got cloud off to the north and east. The weather really being displaced by very strong upper level winds coming right across the circulation just like that. There's a look at the water vapor picture, and you see that similar disorganization there. Low level center completely exposed right now. And as we look at the wind shear, that's going to continue to keep this system weaker. But what it's going to do is bring a tremendous amount of moisture up and into the northern part of the Gulf Coast. You can really see that in that deep red there. So that's really what it's all about, especially from New Orleans into northwest Florida. Tremendously heavy rain coming in over the next several hours and right through tomorrow morning. And along with that, a very serious flash flood threat. Rich, over to you.
All right, Carl, as we look at our satellite vantage point here, as we're looking at our GO-16, notice the tops of the clouds here over to the south of Louisiana, the highest cloud tops, again, associated with those very heavy rainfall here, southeast Louisiana, New Orleans up this way here. And again, all along the Gulf Coast, we're seeing some very heavy rain along southern Mississippi right into southern areas of Alabama. This is where that flood threat is really what we're looking at, the worst conditions coming up. Well, we can see tornadoes from tropical storms, and one area is especially vulnerable. Earlier, Dr. Erica Navarro and Alex Wilson highlighted the one place at greatest risk for possible tornadoes.
Let's start on the left-hand side of this chalkboard here. This is what you would see if you were looking on a satellite. Imagine if you were sitting on a satellite looking down at the ocean. Here's our hurricane making its approach to the coast. Now, the winds around the center of the storm blow counterclockwise, okay? So this sort of direction. And so it's on this side, the right side of the storm. Now, remember, the storm is heading this way towards the land. When you have the winds that are blowing from the ocean onto the land, that's where we expect to see our greatest tornado threat threat because we have these onshore winds flowing into this region. So if I highlight it, it's usually in this quadrant, if we think about the storm in 4 different pieces, that we expect to see our greatest tornado and severe weather threat, because that wind blowing from the ocean onto the shore creates greater wind shear.
Right, and we've got the storm motion that direction, the storm, the winds of the storm itself. Yeah. And when we look at a cross section, I love this. You guys have really broken it down. You've got that eye, but then those rain bands in that right front quadrant.
Right. The excellent Catherine Prosiv helped draw this chalkboard, which is incredible, right? And so here in these white areas, these are the clouds. So here's that wind going, let's say, into the board here. And now notice, we also have an upper level feature in the region. So we have strong upper level winds that are blowing across the storm like this. So we have wind going in one direction at the surface, wind going in an entirely different direction up above. There's that vertical wind shear. It creates that rotation in the atmosphere, and that's why it's, especially in these rain bands, that's where we get the tornadoes. So as if the tropical cyclone making landfall wasn't a bad enough problem, you have spin-ups of tornadoes in it as well.
And speaking of tornadoes, tonight we're looking at Torcon values down along the Gulf Coast here, stretching from Louisiana back over the Florida Panhandle up to a 4. That means a 40% chance within this period here of 50 miles from a particular location. We'll have more on Tropical Storm Cindy. That's coming up shortly after the break.
Currently in our area, 87 degrees under sunny skies. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms, low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Do I only need sunscreen on sunny days?
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
Brought to you by Coppertone, because protection matters.
Dermatologists recommend Cetaphil for sensitive skin. It hydrates for 24 hours. Women recommend Cetaphil because of how it makes them feel. Healthy skin is Beautiful. Cetaphil.
Hi guys, it's great to be here. In the desert, at the mall, on the mountain, at school, at the beach, in the Big Easy. Yeah. Today I want to show you guys the next gen Chevy Equinox. What do you think? That's pretty. Pretty sexy.
It looks aggressive.
But not overbearing. It's not too big, not too small. Seems like the perfect car for anybody. I would take it anywhere.
She's a bad mamma jamma.
Current qualified GM lessees can get this introductory lease on the all-new 2018 Chevy Equinox for around $249 a month. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Okay, movie night. Who sees the remote?
Don't need it. Alexa, search for family movies.
Whoa, hey.
Wow.
You did that without a remote.
Alexa, play Ghostbusters.
Oh.
Right.
Hey, you guys really have it all figured out, huh? That's what we do. You bought a zoo? It's what we do.
Introducing Dish with Amazon Alexa, letting you control your hopper with just your voice. Dish, tuned into you.
The beer that's as refreshing as refreshment gets. Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy.
I just want to find a used car without getting ripped off.
Start at thenewcarfax.com.
Show me used trucks with one owner.
Pretty cool.
Show me the Carfax.
Start your used car search at theallnewcarfax.com.
You know, when your mom and I first started dating, it was the easy...
Not helping.
just really hurts.
When someone breaks their heart, be soft.
Yeah, I know.
When that breaks yours, be strong.
You're lucky. Man, when I was your age, the only girl who would talk to me was Grandma.
Life takes softness and strength.
I had no game, son.
Which is why we make Angel Soft with a balance of both.
Your eyes have a protective lipid layer that can break down and cause dry eyes. Soothe XP from Bausch & Lomb helps restore this layer, seal in moisture, and protect against further irritation. Soothe XP, extra protection for dry eyes.
I want the most out of my health and life, so I trust Nature Made vitamins. Because they were the first to be verified by USP for quality and purity standards, and because I recommend them as a pharmacist.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
I've got everything I need beside me. You've got a smile that makes the world shine brighter.
Whether for big meetings or little getaways, there are always smiles ahead at Holiday Inn.
Can a toothpaste do everything well?
This clean was like, pow. My teeth are glowing. They are so white.
Step 1 cleans, Step 2 whitens. Crest HD, 6 times cleaning, 6 times whitening.
I would switch to Crest HD over what I was using before.
Nothing spoils a moment like heartburn. Try new Alka-Seltzer Ultra Strength Heartburn Relief Chews. It's fast, powerful relief with no chalky taste. Ultra Strength, new from Alka-Seltzer. Enjoy the relief.
Welcome back into our special storm coverage here at the Weather Channel. A new tornado warning to warn you about here. This for Bay and Calhoun counties in Florida. This tornado warning in effect until 9:30 p.m. Central Time tonight. There's the area outlined in red just to the east of Youngstown. Note, these are due to some bands that are coming in from Tropical Storm Cindy. Let's time this out for you. 9:35 p.m. getting into Betts, and then by 9:41 p.m. to Sandy Mountain Church. So if you are in any of these areas, now is the time to take cover. Possibly a well-defined circulation in this region, even though it might be shallow and short-lived, definitely one you need to take seriously. Again, Bay and Calhoun counties until 9:30 p.m. tonight. Be on the alert and get into a safe room if possible. Well, tornadoes aren't the only thing that we need to be on the lookout for with this system now making its approach into the northern Gulf Coast. Very heavy rainfall, potentially the largest threat with this system for a lot of areas along the Gulf Coast and even up into the southeast. Let's go ahead and get a little bit more details here. The rainfall forecast for Mobile, Alabama, and now this extends for the next 2 days. And where you see these red bars, 7 a.m. Wednesday, as well as again a second round 3 p.m. tomorrow. Potentially some very large rainfall amounts, up to 3 and 4 inches of rain. And now you may not think that that's a lot, but when it all comes down at once, especially on top of some rainfall that we may have already seen so far, this could create some potentially very large problems. But here's what we really want to hammer home with this system. This is the forecast cone for Tropical Storm Cindy. And notice that it extends here through Texas and then up through Louisiana in the next couple of days. But look at the extent of the rainfall. Notice it is not in the area of the cone that we see our biggest impacts. We are talking potential double-digit rainfall to the east of this system. So it's not really where the center goes. It's where the clouds and the rainfall is going to be occurring. And everyone in the southeast needs to be on the lookout for this, because we have a couple other meteorological factors in play here that may help to exacerbate these conditions as Tropical Storm Cindy makes its approach. So getting down into the region, there's a cold front that's going to be stalling out in the next couple of days. And Cindy is pulling up this deep tropical moisture from the south. So as that moisture hits that front, it gets that enhanced lift in that area, which may help create even higher amounts of rainfall in some locally heavy areas. And this will continue late week, even further away from the coast. So areas in northern Louisiana and Arkansas, again, that heavy tropical moisture heading your way. So everyone here needs to be on the alert for some very heavy rainfalls. But right now, we still have flash flood watches in effect for most of the Gulf Coast. This includes the cities of New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Mobile, even Pensacola and Panama City. So be on the alert today as these bands are coming in rich. We could be seeing some very high amounts.
And Erica, as we look at the situation here, of course it's going to impact travel.
Absolutely.
in a variety of different ways. First of all, air travel. And as you might expect, even though heavy rain's coming down right now, usually at a minimum at this hour of the day, as we check your forecast for air travel tomorrow, that is going to be the big day where we think there will be some impacts from Atlanta, Houston, New Orleans over to Birmingham. The biggest impacts, of course, Atlanta's a hub, and also over to around New Orleans area where we're expecting a lot of that rain to come up from the Gulf of Mexico. For the AM rush around New Orleans, we're still expecting the rain. We have it now. The winds will still be coming up, so we're still looking for the wind and the heavy rain. And as we've been mentioning really the last few days, is that the flooding rain concerns will be the greatest impact. All right, as we look at our AM rush over toward Houston, you can see overall not so bad at all. Then for the lunch hour, still looking good. Then take it beyond toward the PM rush. That's when we're thinking that some of the rain starts to make its way in. And over toward Atlanta, we're looking for the rain situated just south of town. The city was flooded today with heavy rain. More chances tomorrow. Now let's see what's coming up next. Here's Dr. Erica Navarro.
Well, flooding is a danger far inland, not just along the Gulf Coast, but these are not the only dangers that are facing the Gulf Coast with this system. Flags already flying because of rough surf, and on the way, which beaches are closed to the public due to the threat of rip currents.
Working on my feet all day gave me pain here.
In my knees.
So I stepped on this machine and got my number, which matched my Dr. Scholl's custom-fit orthotic inserts. So I get immediate relief from my foot pain.
My knee pain.
Find a machine at drschols.com.
Why do we insist on 100% Alaskan whitefish? Why do we always hand dip in our famous batter? Cook it to golden perfection and serve it with fries for just $1.99? Because at Long John Silver's, we think you deserve more for $1.99.
Welcome to my show me what you do now. We don't have to go.
There's an opportunity in every window. A view connecting in here to an entire world of out there. So start your day opening the window to your weather with AMHQ. Watch Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno looking out at the stories and the science behind your forecast. Open up your mornings with AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under sunny skies. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms, low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Dentures are very different to real teeth. They're about 10 times softer and may have surface pores where bacteria can multiply. Polydent kills 99.99% of odor-causing bacteria and helps dissolve stains. That's why I recommend Polydent.
Cleaner, fresher, brighter every day.
There are over 18 million new cars on the road in this country, and at Firestone Complete Auto Care, our 4,000 ASE certified technicians combine state-of-the-art technology with handcrafted service to help keep them running newer, longer, because they know when your car's running right, so are you. Right now, at Firestone Complete Auto Care, get a standard oil change for just $19.99. Firestone Complete Auto Care. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
It's not a good feeling when you walk into a shop and absolutely everything doesn't work for you.
I felt like when I went shopping with my friends, I couldn't get the styles I wanted and the sizes that were available to me. What's great about Dia & Co is I get my own personal stylist.
I can't wait to try this on. There's always something in a box for me every month that I know I'm gonna love.
Keep what you love, send back the rest. Get your first box today at dia.com.
Dia & Co is tailored self-confidence in a box. It's a game changer.
Attention! If you had surgery to repair a hernia, listen closely. Ethicon has recalled its PhysioMesh flexible composite mesh. This product may cause pain, swelling, bowel obstructions, infections, mesh failure, and hernia recurrence. If you had hernia repair surgery in 2006 or later and suffered complications that required additional surgery, you may be entitled to compensation.
Call Sokolov Law, 1-800-706-2307 for a free legal consultation. 1-800-706-2307. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
What makes me a weather geek? The fact that I love the weather, especially when it's hit me in the side of the face.
I'm gonna ride this one out, guys.
Be one of the thousands of weather geeks out there at WeLoveWeather.tv.
New tornado warning to tell you about here in Florida. This for the counties of Bay and Calhoun until 9:30 p.m. Central Time tonight. This tornado warning from Tropical Storm Cindy as it's making landfall into this area. Timing this out for you, 9:33 p.m. Expect this system to make its way into Betts by 9:38 p.m. into Sandy Mountain Church area and 9:47 into the Compass Lake area. Again, this is Central Time. This system probably going to make it over State Route 231 in the next couple of minutes. Taking a look at the velocities right there where you see that green area. Shane is highlighting that for you. Shane, our weather producer here. There's that region of rotation that we are looking out for on the radar. So if there is a tornado on the ground, it will be in that area. And notice it's getting very close to State Route 20 and plenty of rain with this system as well. So please take caution. Again, this is a tornado warning, so now is the time to take cover if you are in any of these areas. Well, Tropical Storm Cindy is already having large impacts well away from the coast, and now I'm here with storm specialist Carl Parker to get some of the latest on this system.
Yeah, you know, we always talk about the cone and, you know, where the center of circulation is going to go, but this is one of those cases where the cone is not particularly relevant as regards the very worst of the weather. And so what we've done here is we've superimposed where the heaviest of rain is, and we are going to see some pretty heavy rain with that center of circulation up into, say, the Houston metro and into the Piney Woods there in the Sabine River. But the very worst of the weather is way away from that cone.
Yeah, I mean, it's well to the east
Yes.
of this area, and I think this is fabulous to show people that it is not always the center of the circulation that has the biggest impact. We're going to be impacted all across the south and the southeast from this system.
Exactly, and that really has everything to do with the structure of this storm, and we've been talking about this for a while. You know, if you just looked at this and you didn't know where the center of circulation is, you might have a hard time figuring out where it is. It's actually sitting somewhere about right there, and you can see how discombobulated this whole thing is. All the weather is being blown off to the north and to the east. So we wanted to talk a little bit about wind shear, and our developing tropical system in this idealized model here has an in, up, and out model, as you know, where warm air flows in and then gets up to the upper levels of the storm and then flows out. It does that on both sides of the storm, and then the latent heat that is released by condensation continues to build that area of low pressure there and pull in even more warm air. And in fact, if you've got some stronger upper level winds, that can actually enhance the out at the top of the storm. Some upper level wind is not bad if it's in the right part of the storm.
Right, but if it's in the wrong part of the storm, like we're seeing with this one, you get all of that cloud cover being moved away from the center becomes exposed, and really it just becomes a discombobulated mess.
Yeah, and that heat, that area of heat that where that's producing that low pressure is essentially being removed from the middle of the storm. So you're breaking up that heat engine is what you're doing. So that's exactly why we don't expect to see much strengthening with this storm. There you see the low level center completely exposed.
Yeah, right there you can.
And it's been that way all along.
Yes, I mean, really, you can see the mark of that shear here. There's basically no cloud cover here in the western Gulf.
Right.
There are all the clouds well displaced from the center. Very strong upper level winds.
Yeah, and you've got, you know, just enough convergence here to get the storms going right in there, but then the weather is being blown off to the north and to the east by that very strong upper level wind, which we can clearly see right in there. This purple is showing us where the shear is. So, you know, because of that, we're not going to see a whole lot of really strong wind out of this storm, but you've got this huge feed of moisture that's coming up into the northern Gulf Coast. That's really what it's all about. From southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, into extreme northwest Florida, that's where we've got a risk for life-threatening flash flooding through tonight.
Yeah, still plenty more to talk about tonight. We have more coverage with you here at the Weather Channel. Now let's take it over to Rich to see what's coming up next.
All right, as we look at some of the heavy rain concerns now that extends from Tropical Storm Cindy, and that threat actually extending well inland. Well, you learned it today in Atlanta in one community. Local media reports 24 workers were rescued from a flooded warehouse. Some reportedly had to be rescued by raft. Rescues coming after bouts of very heavy rainfall. Well, this shows you how quickly roads filled with water, water levels reaching the hood of this car here. This is in the same area as the warehouse that was flooded, bringing evacuations. Well, latest radar still showing some of that rain coming down. And as we look at the past 24 hours of rainfall here, about 1.6 inches if you look at the official rain bucket there in Atlanta down at the airport. And looking northeast of town, this is over toward Peachtree DeKalb Airport, and that's again northeast side of town, nearly 5 inches of rain. So that is where the zone was, especially the northeast side. All right, as we look at our radar recap, you can see the dot there. That's the city of Atlanta, and official observations are taken off to the southwest side of town at the airport. But that northeast side of town, that is where we had those train echoes where it essentially just rained all day long. So the very heavy rain that caused the flooding back over toward the northeast side. 12-hour rainfall looking like this, where as we zoom in, you can see that one yellow area, and there really should be possibly another dot of orange in between that area right there, where upwards of 5 inches of rain fell today. Well, the big question on everyone's mind is, how long will this heavy rain continue? We'll have a look at that coming up shortly after the break.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under sunny skies. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms, low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Flooding rain, the biggest issue from our newest tropical storm. You can see that rain, what is done in New Orleans.
Trolley tracks so covered in water that you can't even see them. And there's more rain on the way. Who could potentially face life-threatening flash flooding from Tropical Storm Cindy?
And we're here to keep you ahead of Cindy and all its threats. I'm meteorologist Rich Johnson.
And I'm meteorologist Dr. Erica Navarro, and this is our special storm coverage on Tropical Storm Cindy. We have plenty to talk about as Storm Cindy is now making its approach to the northern Gulf Coast. Winds right now at about 45 miles per hour and pressure holding steady around 997 millibars. And notice, the storm is not moving. It is remaining fairly stationary over the Gulf Coast, but you can see that moisture streaming into the Tallahassee and into the southeast. Plenty more to come as well with this system.
Yeah, we have that deep feed of moisture coming all the way well down into from the western Caribbean, lifting northward. So as we've been mentioning the past several days, flooding is the main concern, and especially off to the east of that center of circulation.
Yes, we're definitely talking about the potential for some deadly rainfall in some of these areas. Again, this includes places far away from the Gulf Coast, even up into Tennessee, perhaps even into northern Arkansas. So definitely be on the lookout for this through the week.
Now we're in place as Cindy rolls closer to the Gulf Coast.
And that includes the city of New Orleans. Our own Chris Warren has the latest from the Big Easy.
Here in New Orleans, it has basically been raining all day long at varying intensity. We've been watching the winds and the rains get stronger and heavier throughout the day, and we're starting to see some of these poles get completely wrapped in water. Now, this is still telling because this is dry right here. So throughout much of the day, it has been an easterly prevailing wind, and those winds have been picking up. And when the winds get really strong and the rain gets really heavy, it doesn't matter which direction the winds are going to be coming from because everything's going to be wet. It's hard to stay dry. Something else that's extremely extremely unique about New Orleans. That's the Mississippi River, and over here the city is lower than the Mississippi River. So I'm at one of the high points here between New Orleans and the Mississippi River. So any rain that comes down right here, anything over here is going to flow into the river. However, anything that hits here and over here is going to go down. It is going to go down and it is going to flow into New Orleans. And what's unique about New Orleans that we know is that they have a pumping system where they're going to have to pump the water out, because so much of it, not only does it not flow into the Mississippi River, but you have water flowing down into it. It's very similar to like being in a bowl. They have to pump it out. So the saving grace hopefully will be as if the rain remains moderate and doesn't get heavy. That's what we're going to be watching throughout much of the overnight hours and during the day tomorrow. The duration of the rain, which could make it, if it comes down very fast, a very dangerous situation.
Now, we're certainly hoping that the rain stays moderate and not heavy. Well, much of the Gulf Coast is under some type of watch or warning right now.
Yes, and these are the areas that are under tropical storm warnings at the moment. Areas like Houston, Beaumont, Cameron, even as far east as the just south of the New Orleans area, you are under tropical storm warning with this system making its approach. So again, being on the lookout not only for some winds, but also some very heavy rains as well.
Right now, we want to head over to our storm specialist, Carl Parker, for more on Cindy. Carl, what's the latest?
Well, we are definitely seeing tropical storm force winds offshore right now, being reported by some buoys and also some oil rigs that are offshore. Here's a look at the wind field, as we call it, the area of strong winds associated with the storm. There's a buoy reporting a sustained wind of 51 miles per hour offshore. Your winds, of course, are going to be stronger offshore because there's no friction. There's nothing to slow that wind down. Winds also getting up well into the 20s there at many locations. And as we look a little closer on shore, we can see that there is wind that's actually getting up to tropical storm force in wind gusts. Winds gusting up over 40 miles per hour in some locations, including in Boothville, which really juts out into the water there. We had a couple of reports of winds gusting to 45 miles per hour within the last couple of hours. So there will be some tropical storm force or near tropical storm force conditions with this storm, but wind is really not going to be the biggest impact. When you look at the satellite picture, you can see how poorly formed this storm really is. The center of circulation is sitting right in there, and you've got some deeper cloud just to the north of that. Then a cloud really broken up on the east side of that circulation. So it's definitely not an organized system right now, apart from the fact that you've just got a really broad area of low pressure, this circulation that's been going for a long time. And here you see in the visible images from earlier today, there's the low-level center that is really now exposed as there are stronger upper-level winds coming in from the southwest right over top of that center, blowing all the weather away from the center. And if the storms can't wrap about that center, it's really not going to strengthen. So we're not looking for much in the way of strengthening. Maybe it gets a tad stronger before it comes in, but that's really not the worry. The big worry is the fact that you've got so much of this deep tropical moisture coming up over a very long fetch here. That's all the way up from the western part of the Caribbean up across the Gulf of Mexico, and this is tropical moisture coming in at several levels of the atmosphere. That's what we mean by deep tropical moisture that makes the rainfall more efficient, the storms more efficient as they move in, and so you've got this very heavy rain, and this is basically how the radar is going to look for a long period of time. In some of these oranges here, we've got rainfall rates approaching an inch per hour, and the flash flood guidance tells us that if we get 4 to 5 inches over a 3-hour period in these areas of southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, that's going to be enough to give us some flash flooding. So that really is the worry. Life-threatening flash flooding. Here's the model forecast showing you how wave after wave after wave of heavy rain will be coming in through tonight and right through the middle of the day tomorrow. Erica, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Carl. Well, Cindy, is not just a threat along the coast. It's a threat that extends well inland, and that means you need to take a look out if you're in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and in Birmingham, because you could have impacts coming your way as well. Let's take a look at the timing for some of the areas here in Alabama, specifically in Mobile, because you could have a couple rounds of storms, as Carl was just showing you on the radar. A very wet night and day in store for you. So this is now heading into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. It could be a very wet commute here along I-10 and along I-65 as several rounds of storms coming in. Pensacola, you are also included in this, as well as even to Interstate 59 to the west into Mississippi. So a lot of rain still to come with this system, potentially double-digit rain in the Gulfport area. Mobile, you're looking at about 7 to 8 inches, and even up to the north, we could have 4 more. We'll have more on this right after the break.
You only need sunscreen on sunny days?
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
Brought to you by Coppertone, because protection matters.
Dentures are very different to real teeth. They're about 10 times softer and may have surface pores where bacteria can multiply. Polydent kills 99.99% of odor-causing bacteria and helps dissolve stains. That's why I recommend Polydent.
Cleaner, fresher, brighter every day.
Managing blood sugar is not a marathon. It's a series of smart choices. And when you replace one meal or snack a day with Glucerna, made with Carb Steady to help minimize blood sugar spikes, you can really feel it. Glucerna, everyday progress.
Liberty Mutual stood with me when this guy got a flat tire in the middle of the night.
Hold on, Dad. Liberty did what?
Yeah, Liberty Mutual 24-hour roadside assistance helped him to fix his flat so he could get home safely.
My dad says our insurance doesn't have that. Don't worry, I know what a lug wrench is, Dad. Is this a lug wrench?
Maybe. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
For a limited time, you can get a half chicken meal with this farm fresh, never frozen Boston Market rotisserie chicken with 2 sides and freshly baked cornbread for just $8.49. Boston Market, dinner is ready.
I think what's most exciting about the future of meteorology and the Weather Channel is that we're always going to give that little extra nugget about the science behind it that you can't get with a scroll of your finger, that little interesting tidbit to kind of spark an interest in somebody watching. Want even more from the Weather Channel? Join us at weloveweather.tv.
Currently in our area, 84 degrees under clear skies. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms, low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
If you love the window seat, start your day opening the window to your weather with AMHQ, mornings on the Weather Channel.
When these Ram trucks roll out, every minute counts. Every mile matters. Every road leads to someone in need. That's because these Ram trucks belong to the First Response Team of America, and they haul hope to tornado-ravaged towns across the nation, helping communities rebuild and storm survivors start over. This tornado season, buckle up and ride along with the team on the Weather Channel. Ram Trucks and the First Response Team of America, powering the road to recovery.
I want the most out of my health and life, so I trust Nature-Made vitamins. Because they were the first to be verified by USP for quality and purity standards, and because I recommend them as a pharmacist.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
And Tropical Storm Cindy already having impacts. Here's what we know right now. Alabama's governor has declared a state of emergency. Some Florida Panhandle beaches closed to the public, so of course you want to check ahead if you're up that way. Houston's under a tropical storm warning. Carnival Cruise Lines is changing some of its cruises set to depart this week. More of the impacts of Cindy it's having inland, and Yeah, as we show you some of the scenes, this is a tree that fell in the Buckhead area of Atlanta. That was a little bit earlier today. We'll have that in just a second.
Well, yes, we want to welcome you back into our special storm coverage here for Tropical Storm Cindy. Here's the latest on what we have. Winds about 45 miles per hour. Pressure is on 997 millibars. And notice the storm is not moving. It's actually stationary. So these impacts will continue through the night, into tomorrow, and perhaps even into late week. There's plenty of moisture being brought up with this system. A lot of upper level features here at play. Look at this plume of moisture rich pulled through, and we also have a cold front that it may interact with through the week.
Yeah, this was an interesting forecast where you had two areas of high pressure, one west, one east, and it was sort of meandering right up between where it hit that area, essentially right now where the steering currents were weak. But it was still being enough where it was pulling up this deep moisture from the Caribbean, and that is by far the main concern with this one.
Absolutely. And if we take a look at the forecast cone, now this is the direction that the center of the storm is forecasted to go. If we compare that to where the highest rainfall amounts are going to be, notice it is well to the east. It is not in the area of the cone that we are expecting those large impacts. And all of the southeast, even up into the Midwest, people could be expecting to have some large impacts. And now people in the Nashville area need to be on the lookout because some of the, not only that cold front in the region, but maybe the higher terrain in some of these areas could potentially exacerbate that rainfall.
And some of these totals here, possibly more than 10 inches, and some of the ground already saturated from previous rain. So, all right, as we look at the flood alerts here, stretching from about Tallahassee on the east side all the way back over to, I would say, maybe the upper Texas coast around Houston. But the heaviest rain, we just saw that, continues to pour in, especially up toward that northwest Florida coast and over toward southeast Louisiana.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the future radar. This is giving you an idea of what to expect through the night tonight and into tomorrow. Very heavy rains on the way into Mobile and staying there through the morning hours, continuing through the afternoon. New Orleans also a couple rounds of storms, but in between Mobile and Tallahassee, that looks to be where the largest rainfall amounts are going to be moving forward into tomorrow. Now notice Birmingham, you're also in that area as well, so be on the alert for some possibly very pesky travel into tomorrow.
And as we take you all the way out to Saturday, we think with the low center drifting over toward probably around Houston, maybe the Louisiana, Texas coast. There's also a little bit of moisture, so to speak, 3 to 4 inches. That's more than a little bit, but compared to what's happening over toward the Florida coast, not nearly as much. Eric, as you was mentioning, we saw it on the radar. It appears that maybe from the Mississippi coast to the northwest Florida panhandle area, that's where the heaviest will fall.
Yes, and absolutely. And this, again, potentially very heavy rainfall. So, folks, you need to be on the alert tomorrow if you are planning on traveling or being out on the roads. A lot of these areas, again, already very saturated, as Rich just mentioned. 8 to 9 inches along Gulfport, just to the west of Mobile. So I-10 travel tomorrow could be very risky. You want to make sure that if you see pooled water in the ground and you can't see the road perhaps because there's water on it, don't drive in it because that could be very dangerous.
Yeah, more of the impact Cindy's having inland. This is a tree that fell in the Buckhead portion of Atlanta earlier today. More having tumbled, blocking roadways and snarling traffic. Trees falling after the heavy rain, and certainly more on the way. You can see some huge trees which have fallen here with, again, upwards of 5 inches.
Yeah, and here's another video you can see of storm clouds pulling into New Orleans over today. Very overcast day and so much rain. We've already seen flooding on the streets.
Hey, bud, you need some help?
No, I'm good. Come on, Mom. I have to go.
We always trusted our Subaru Impreza would be there for him someday.
Hey, that's it.
We just didn't think someday would come so fast.
See you later, Mom.
Introducing the Subaru Impreza, the longest-lasting vehicle in its class. More than a car, it's a Subaru.
Your brain is an amazing thing. But as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
How could I possibly be expected to go without Domino's on a day like this? Alexa, ask Domino's to place my easy order.
Ordering Domino's.
Life moves pretty fast. If you can't track your pizza, you could miss it.
Order 2 medium 2-topping pizzas for just $5.99 each and track them on your favorite device.
I'm proud of what the Weather Channel is. It's a place you can turn to and trust.
Our team's taking you into the storm with live reports and expertise you won't get anywhere else.
We are meteorologists, and that makes a tremendous difference.
When it comes to a weather situation that warrants attention, we're the place to go. It's that simple.
Hey, I'm Ty Pennington, and I've got a simple question for you. Are you paying too much for your mortgage? Well, you won't know for sure until you check with Guaranteed Rate. You can do it right now. It's that easy. With Guaranteed Rate's digital mortgage, you can choose from today's lowest rates, check your free credit scores, and even get approved online. Anytime, anywhere. All in just minutes, at no cost to you. Lowering your mortgage payment could save you thousands of dollars. Just take a few minutes right now to see how much you could save.
We were going to rent. That was the going-in plan, but the rate was so low at Guaranteed Rate that we ended up buying.
Whether you're buying a new home or refinancing your current home, get a low, low rate from Guaranteed Rate. Visit rate.com right now to find out how much you could save. Call 1-888-557-1555 or visit rate.com.
Stay tuned for your Local on the 8s, brought to you by Coppertone, because protection matters.
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
The beer that's as refreshing as refreshment gets. Mine and Kugel's Summer Shandy.
Yeah, these new Beneful Breaking Bites are great. They'll break off a couple if you sit, you stay. But if you want all four, you gotta get cute. You gotta let a baby sleep on your belly.
New Beneful Breakin' Bites, with real beef as the #1 ingredient.
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
Currently in our area, 84 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Tonight, mostly clear, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms. Low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Red flag flying along Pensacola Beach, Florida. Officials have closed some beaches to the public in the Panhandle. Among the communities affected are Destin, South Walton, and Panama City. Surf, as you can see, getting very rough. And that's a threat for rip currents also being high, too. You got all that water coming in, and it has to go back out. The more you have coming in, the more that goes back out. So that's when the rip currents really go up with concern. So as we look at our rip currents graphic here, we have all this water which is coming in. And as you saw with those scenes there, waves are getting a little rougher out there and surf's getting rougher. So this water's coming in. And as it is channeled back out to sea, a lot of times these channels, maybe about 20 feet wide, sometimes they're significantly bigger than that. But what happens is a lot of people, they tend to panic if they start getting pulled away from the beaches. And they think, naturally, I got to swim back toward the beach. But what you want to do to get out of the rip currents is that you swim parallel to the beach, then you can swim back toward the beach. So you'll be able to tell as soon as you're getting out of the rip current as that pull out towards sea definitely weakens. And as mentioned just a few seconds ago, some of the beaches are closed, so you want to make sure to check if you're down that way. And I can tell you tomorrow probably not that great of a beach day any day with all this heavy rain coming in. Rip current risk, the highest from around St. George Island all the way back over to around Dauphin Island over toward Alabama. So the North Florida coast all the way back over toward southern Alabama. So that is one of the concern over toward the coast. Dr. Erica Navarro has more on the other impacts.
Yeah, not just rip currents that we have to be talking about, also some high waves and coastal flooding in play with this system as it makes its way onshore. So here are the flood alerts that are currently in effect. These are coastal flood advisories. These include the cities of New Orleans, Biloxi, Mobile, Pensacola, Apalachicola, and St. Mark's. So notice a lot of area here covered under these coastal flood alerts. So anywhere along the North Gulf Coast into the western peninsula of Florida, and I would even argue a little bit further than that, need to be on the alert because we could be seeing some flooding for these coastal areas. Here's the latest on the wind speeds, and notice just this buoy here to the southeast of Houston, 51-mile-per-hour winds already with this system. You can see about 25 miles here on a buoy just off the coast in the western panhandle of Florida, and more to come as this system moves even more closely. If we take a look at the forecast for the winds and what we could expect, those red and pink areas are our highest wind values, and you can see Lake Charles, we're expecting 20 to 25-mile-per-hour winds by tomorrow morning, and these will continue throughout the day as that system again slowly makes its way towards the coast. New Orleans, we're looking at 20 to 25-mile-per-hour winds, and again winds into Mobile around 20 miles per hour, and gusts could be locally higher than that depending on it, but it's really not the winds with this system we're mostly concerned about. It's the heavy rainfall. But with this long fetch of winds across the Gulf of Mexico and not a lot of area in front of it to really get in the way, we could have some very high waves as well with this handle of Florida, maybe even locally 10 or so across the southeast coast of Texas. So these could be very high. And again, this is on top of the normal amount of the sea surface. So looking at the forecast of the wave heights, those purple values are upwards of 20, maybe 15. And so again, anywhere along the northern Gulf Coast ridge needs to be on the lookout for, again, some potentially large impacts.
And Erica, not only are some of the impacts on the coast, many are farther inland, and even cities not directly along the coast are preparing for Cindy. Greater Houston area is one of those places at risk from the storm. Tropical storm warning blankets the city right now, and you're looking at LaPorte, Texas. That's in the Greater Houston metro area. Flooding certainly a concern, but just think for a minute, it's a home to a number of oil and gas operations, adding a new dimension to the flood concerns. That would be with some chemicals. And if water starts to rise, remember this, chemical hazards are often found lurking in floodwater. That's why you should be aware of the sources of chemicals around you, and if you're exposed, to wash off quickly.
This program brought to you by Coppertone, because protection matters.
Introducing Coppertone Whipped. New sun protection like you've never seen or felt. It absorbs quickly and leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth while helping to prevent sun damage. New Coppertone Whipped, because protection matters.
He's told that joke a million times, and you always laugh like you're hearing it for the first time. At Lincoln Financial, we get there are some responsibilities of love you gotta do on your own, and some you shouldn't have to shoulder alone, like ensuring he's well taken care of, even as you build your own plans for retirement. Ask a financial advisor how Lincoln can help protect your savings from the impact of long-term care expenses.
Why do we insist on 100% Alaskan whitefish? Why do we always hand dip in our famous batter? Cook it to golden perfection and serve it with fries for just $1.99, because at Long John Silver's, we think you deserve more for $1.99.
You do all this research on the perfect car, then smash it into a tree. Your insurance company raises your rates. Maybe you should have done more research on them.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I've got everything I need beside me. You got
a smile that makes the world shine brighter.
Whether for big meetings or little getaways, there are always smiles ahead at Holiday Inn.
Oh, what do you have there?
P3. It's meat, cheese, and nuts. I keep my protein interesting.
Oh, yeah, me too. I have cheese and these herbs.
P3 Snacks, the more interesting way to get your protein.
Hi guys, it's great to be here. In the desert, at the mall, on the mountain, at school, at the beach, in the Big Easy. Yeah. Today I want to show you guys the next gen Chevy Equinox. What do you think?
That's pretty.
Pretty sexy.
It looks aggressive.
But not overbearing.
It's not too big, not too small.
Seems like the perfect car for anybody.
I would take it anyway.
She's a bad mamma jamma.
Current qualified GM lessees can get this introductory lease on the all-new 2018 Chevy Equinox for around $249 a month. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Will you be ready when the moment turns romantic? Cialis for daily use treats ED and the urinary symptoms of BPH. Tell your doctor about your medicines and ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain or Adempas for pulmonary hypertension, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Do not drink alcohol in excess. To avoid long-term injury, get medical help right away for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have a sudden decrease or loss of hearing or vision or an allergic reaction, stop taking Cialis and get medical help right away. Ask your doctor about Cialis.
There's an opportunity in every window. So start your day opening the window to your weather with Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno, looking out at the stories and the science behind your forecast. Open up your mornings with AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 84 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Tonight, mostly clear, low 69. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 94. Winds south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Wednesday night, late night thunderstorms. Low 70. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
This event is going to be a much smaller event than we're used to. What's deceptive about this event is that we're outside of the cone. And generally what we've been trained into is if we're inside of the cone, we got to pay attention. If we're outside of the cone, we don't. This is not one of those events, as Ken was saying to you, and if you listen to the National Weather Service, because of what happens outside of the cone with rain events and water events and slosh models, even if we're not inside the cone, this could potentially have a serious impact, as we said, from 1 to 3 or all the way up to 12. And if we get a lot of rain in a very short period of time that approximates that higher amount, you are going to have significant flooding.
And that certainly is a concern. Welcome back to our special coverage of Tropical Storm Cindy. I'm meteorologist Rich Johnson.
And I'm meteorologist Dr. Erica Navarro. Tropical Storm Cindy, already a dangerous storm that's threatening a very large area. Now, here are the areas that are currently under tropical storm watches. And notice we've got a lot of major cities in these areas. Houston, you're included in this threat. Potentially very heavy rainfall coming your way. Beaumont, Cameron, Morgan City, all the way into the New Orleans area. Now, New Orleans, you're not under that threat, but just south of that, maybe some heavy rains.
Yeah, and Cindy's already having quite an impact. Here's what we know right now. Alabama governor declares a state of emergency, and